welcome back to our channel.
Today we're gonna talk about something that you guys have always requested. It was like the most requested video ever. We have received tons of Instagram DMs asking us about this topic.
And instead of answering every question in the blog, we decided to make one video to answer them all at once.
So today we're gonna show you guys how to avoid global warming. More specifically by implementing the carbon taxes.
So if you want to know more about this exciting topic, then just keep on watching.
So before we start talking about carbon taxes, we have to explain you guys a little bit more about this thing of global warming and why it is so detrimental to the environment.
We all know that global warming is a huge problem that we are facing today. As the name says, it causes a rise of temperature. As the name says, it causes a rise of temperature in a global scale.
Whether this is caused by human activity or natural variability, thermometers all around the world have risen steadily since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution.
In fact, é difícil pra caralho. Oh my god! In fact, the average global temperature on Earth has increased by about 1 degree Celsius since 1880, according to NASA's Institute for Space Studies.
Okay, so global warming occurs when...
Desculpa, eu tomei um susto.
Okay, so global warming occurs when carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases are abundant in the atmosphere and reflect the solar radiation that has been bounced from the Earth's surface, just like we can see in this picture. And this is the so-called greenhouse effect. And the consequences of the rising temperatures aren't waiting for some far-flung future. They are appearing right now.
From melting glaciers to strong storms and hurricanes, global warming has been making the world suffer so much. Some of the main effects are: number 1, drastic rise of sea levels due to the melting of the ice caps, which are causing many coastal cities to be flooded and also many families to lose their homes.
Number 2, shift of precipitation patterns, which also result in more common floods and droughts.
And now number 3, hurricanes and other storms are likely to become stronger, just like we recently saw the Irma hurricane, which destroyed many countries of the Caribbean and also damaged the southeast of the United States. Well, could you just tell me number 5 now?
Yeah, actually number 4. That's what comes after 3, right?
I am so sorry.
Okay, so number 4. Ecosystems will hysterically change. Because of the global warming, many species will have to migrate in order to survive, and this might compromise several food chains and therefore cause many extinctions.
And now, number 5.
Hell yeah.
With higher greenhouse gas emissions, acid rains becomes more frequent and intense, which might lead to the destruction of the marine life.
Besides that, the huge number of cars and industries that emit CO2, methane and other nitrous oxides have worsened air pollution, which is responsible for many deaths caused by pulmonary diseases.
But the big question is, how can we stop this problem? Since the main factor that causes climate change is the emission of greenhouse gases, no one can deny that the reduction of these pollutants is a great step to save the planet.
Having this in mind, governments all around the world have introduced the so-called carbon taxes. So, a carbon tax puts a price on those emissions, encouraging people, governments and businesses to produce less of them.
Basically, carbon tax is the core policy for reducing and eventually eliminating the use of fossil fuels to generate energy, whose combustion produces CO2 and also other pollutant gases.
If it's set high enough, carbon tax definitely becomes a powerful monetary disincentive that motivates switches to clean energy, simply by making it more economically rewarding to move to non-carbon fuels and other sustainable long-term options. Okay, but now you guys must be asking yourselves, Why do we always use fossil fuels?
Well, my dear friend, burning fossil fuels is well, burning fossil fuels is the cheapest way to produce energy, and that makes it so common and also increases the rate of carbon in the atmosphere.
Now that we understood what carbon tax is, let's see how it works. Carbon tax is based on the economic principle of negative externalities. Externalities are costs or benefits generated by the production of goods and services. And negative externalities are costs that are not paid for.
The ones who benefit from burning fossil fuels do not pay for the environmental damage that the emissions cause. Instead, this cost is borne by people around the world and also future generations. So, imposing a carbon tax can help correct this externality by raising the price of energy consumption to reflect more of its social cost.
By doing this, people were encouraged to drive less and be more careful about how they use the energy in their homes, for example. Moreover, businesses invested more in energy efficiency measures and switched to less polluting fuels.
The tax is imposed according to how much carbon is emitted to the atmosphere. Nowadays, it ranges from $1 to $130 per ton of carbon. How many times am I gonna say carbon?
The country where carbon taxes are the most expensive is Sweden, namely $130 per ton of carbon dioxide, while in Mexico taxes are extremely cheap, namely less than $1.
As we can see, the developed countries tend to charge more from these polluters, while the developing countries charge much less.
This method of pricing carbon emissions seems to be really efficient. In Denmark, for example, where the carbon taxes were introduced in 1992, carbon emissions decreased 25% according to the US National Renewable Energy Lab. In Sweden, the government estimates that its carbon emissions would be 20% higher if they hadn't implemented the taxes in 1991.
In the UK, for example, CO2 emissions have fallen steadily since 1990 and even more sharply since 2013. By 2016, emissions have dropped to levels not seen since the last decade of the 19th century. In fact, the use of coal to produce electricity achieved its minimum last year, according to the Carbon Brief Journal.
Okay, so after analyzing all this data, we can definitely say that carbon tax is a great measure to avoid global warming. By putting a price on greenhouse gas emissions, it works as a strong disincentive, since businesses attempt to use less energy derived from those fossil fuels. And it also promotes the creation of a low-carbon society.
In addition, a lot of money is raised by this tax. It could be invested, for example, in environmental programs that might soften the effects of global warming, just like promoting the use of other clean energy sources.
Besides that, the money could be used to develop cutting-edge technologies, like electric cars. These would have a huge effect on the environment, since they don't emit pollutant gases.
Just imagine if this technology was implemented in a global scale. Carbon rates in the atmosphere would drastically drop, resulting in a cleaner and fresher air for the whole world.
So this was our week's video. We hope you guys enjoyed as much as we did. If you want more videos about this topic of global warming, let us know in the comments below or just DM us.
We will leave our social medias here on the screen, so you can follow us on Instagram and Snapchat and also be up to date with everything we post.
Also, don't forget to subscribe. Turn on the notification button so you immediately know when we upload a new video, and give us a big fat thumbs up.
So this is it. See you guys next week. Bye!
Bye!